Quick question. If you were dropped into the wild 10,000 years ago, what would kill you first? Wolves, a mammoth, disease, starvation? Most people go with predators, big scary animals, nature being brutal. But the answer isn't any of those things. The single most dangerous thing you would face, statistically, archaeologically, historically, was another human being. Not nature, not animals, us. And the evidence for this is so overwhelming and so disturbing that it changed everything we thought we knew about our ancient ancestors. Let's set the scene. 10,000 years ago, the last ice age is ending, the glaciers are retreating, the climate is warming, and humans, who have been spreading across the planet for tens of thousands of years, are starting to bump into each other in ways they never had before. These are small bands, maybe 20 to 150 people, hunter-gatherers, moving constantly, following animals, following seasons. And here's the critical thing. Resources are not infinite. That valley with the river, there's only so much fish in it. That forest with the deer, only so many deer. That berry patch, someone else found it first. And when two bands of humans, each convinced the other is a threat, meet at the same watering hole, something very old and very dangerous switches on in the human brain. For a long time, people assumed prehistoric humans were peaceful, the noble savage idea that ancient people lived in harmony until civilization corrupted them. Then archaeologists started finding bones. Kennewick Man. A 9,000-year-old skeleton found in Washington state in 1996. Stone spear point embedded in his hip, healed over, meaning he survived that attack. But that wasn't the only wound. The Crow Creek Massacre, South Dakota, around 1325 CE. Archaeologists found a mass grave containing nearly 500 people, men, women, children, showing signs of extreme violence, scalping, dismemberment, mutilation, Nataruk, Kenya, 10,000 years ago. 27 bodies found at the edge of a prehistoric lake, bashed skulls, arrow wounds, hands bound, a pregnant woman among the dead. This wasn't a burial, it was a massacre site. These aren't isolated incidents. Across prehistoric Europe, Africa, Asia, the skeletal record tells the same story. Anthropologist Lawrence Keeley analyzed hundreds of prehistoric sites and concluded that in some hunter-gatherer societies, up to 25% of all adult males died from violence. For comparison, the two most violent centuries in modern history combined killed about 1 to 2% of the global population. The ancient world was not peaceful, it was a war zone. So why? Why were ancient humans so violent toward each other? The honest answer is the same reasons humans fight today, just more immediate. Resources, food, water, hunting grounds. When your tribe is hungry and there's a neighboring tribe sitting on a valley full of game, you do the math. Territory. As humans settled into semi-permanent camps and eventually early villages, land became something worth protecting and worth taking. Revenge cycles. This might be the most important one. In small societies, every death was personal. If someone from the next valley killed your brother, your entire tribe expected you to respond. That response triggered their response, and so on, for generations. Anthropologists call this the feud cycle, and it could destroy entire communities over decades. Rating, particularly for women and slaves. Some of the clearest evidence of ancient violence comes from the sudden appearance of individuals whose genetics don't match the local population, meaning they were taken by force from somewhere else. And underneath all of this is the psychology of in-group versus out-group. Your tribe was your entire world. Those people were your family, your identity, your survival network. Outsiders weren't just strangers, they were potential competitors, potential threats, and sometimes potential resources. The human brain didn't evolve to feel sympathy for strangers, it evolved to protect the people right in front of it. But here's where it gets interesting. Because violence didn't just destroy ancient humans, it drove them to innovate better weapons. The need to fight meant to defend, push tool technology forward faster than almost anything else. Spears, bows, fortified camps, watchtowers. Humans were engineering survival under pressure. Walls, Jericho, one of the oldest known towns, had a massive stone wall and tower built around 8000 BCE. Archaeologists used to think it was for flood control. Now many believe it was a defensive fortification. Humans were building walls to protect themselves from other humans before they were even farming properly. Alliances. If one tribe can't beat two tribes, the solution is to become three tribes. The logic of alliance building is ancient, and it required something remarkable: the ability to extend trust to people who weren't your family. Trade. Here's one that surprises people. Evidence of long-distance trade, obsidian from specific volcanoes turning up hundreds of miles away, predates agriculture. Why would ancient humans trade with strangers? Because trading partners don't raid you. Trade is peacemaking technology, diplomacy. The first political negotiations in human history weren't about taxes or borders. They were about not killing each other. How do we share this river? How do we agree on hunting grounds? How do we stop the feud before it destroys both our groups? Violence paradoxically invented cooperation. The pressure of conflict forced humans to get creative about peace. Now here's the part that changes everything. In 2011, psychologist Steven Pinker published a book called The Better Angels of Our Nature, and his argument, backed by mountains of data, is this: violence has been declining for thousands of years, not in the news cycle, not in how it feels, but in the actual numbers. Per capita rates of violent death, when adjusted for population, have been falling since the prehistoric period. The ancient world, with its raiding bands and feud cycles and massacre sites, was far more violent than anything we live in today. The average person walking around a modern city is statistically safer from violent death than any human who lived 10,000 years ago, or 5,000 years ago, or even 500 years ago. That doesn't mean the world is perfect, or that violence doesn't exist. But the trend is real, something is working, and what's working, it turns out, is everything those ancient arms races invented. Laws, institutions, trade, diplomacy, the slow, painful, imperfect expansion of who counts as us rather than them. The in-group has been getting bigger for 10,000 years. So here's what this tells us about being human today. That brain you're walking around with, the one that feels uneasy around strangers, that instinctively prefers people who look and talk like you, that feels your team's losses more sharply than some other team's suffering, that's not a flaw. That's a 10,000-year-old survival system. It kept your ancestors alive in a world where the guy from the next valley genuinely might kill you, but we don't live in that world anymore. And the incredible thing about humans is that we built our way out of it, slowly, imperfectly, but persistently. The most dangerous thing about being human 10,000 years ago was other humans, and the thing that saved us also turned out to be other humans. If this made you think, subscribe. There's a lot more human strangeness where this came from.